Well, hey y'all, happy summer. It's been a while since I did a video, and that's because the truck's been running great, so I haven't had a lot of problems. But recently, I had to take care of a couple of things. One of them related to the function of the battery and the charging system that wasn't related to the alternator that I replaced about a year and a half ago. That thing's running great. Um, but what I wanted to start out with today is just some of this is going to be general charging system stuff, which is applicable to any vehicle. Actually, most of this is going to be that. So, with the exception of one little part that I've replaced on this truck, 2004 Nissan Frontier, and that would be the negative battery cable, which is a rather long sucker. So just how we got here. I was noticing that even with the new alternator, I would be sitting at a traffic light with the headlights on and everything, nighttime of course, and sitting at a traffic light, turn signals on, and I noticed that my headlights would dim just a little bit every time the turn signal flashed. Everything was in unison, which, is really not supposed to happen if everything's working according to plan. So after some investigation, I discovered that that my battery terminals were pretty grody. So this is the old one, which is now off the vehicle, and I cleaned it up a little bit to do some testing before I decided to replace the cable. So tools involved for this, pretty simple. You're just going to need one of these little guys. This is a terminal brush, and what this does, you pop the cap off, and you have two brushes. It's 2 in 1. So the little spiky thing is what you use to clean out the inside. Clean out the inside of the connector. Just getting all the corrosion, crud. And this one, there's even some rust on there. You can see it's pretty on the outside here. It's pretty grody. Inside, you can see some shiny metal where I was able to clean it up. Then this other side, this is a little opening that has brushes in it, and this is for the terminal posts on the battery. So you just put with the connector, the terminal off of the battery, just on the bare post. You just slide this over the post, and you twist it around and around, a little up and down, whatnot, and get all the crud off of that. So then you can reconnect everything and see how it works. And so one of the problems, actually the big problem I had with this connector is that, get a little closer to the camera here, see if it'll focus properly. See how there's that gap? There's this opening right here. Well, the problem is that this thing is so crusty and corroded and rusted that this bolt that you would use to tighten the clamp down won't move. So the problem that I was having was, even after I cleaned off the connection, I still wasn't getting good enough contact to be able to get all of the energy that should be flowing through the electrical system of the truck. So one of my next steps for testing that theory out was I just grabbed a little cheap pair of, these are vice grip style pliers, locking pliers, and so with this on the terminal post of the battery, I just simply came in over here and clamped it together, locked it down, and here, let me just adjust that so it will lock. One more turn maybe. One more after that. There we go. Okay. So with this reinstalled on the truck, I just drove it for a day to see how it would behave, especially in the dark, with the lights on and turn signals and whatnot, just to see if I noticed any improvements as far as how the lighting in the truck was working. So one of the first things I noticed was that with a good connection between the inside of this terminal and the post on the battery, first thing I noticed was at the traffic light, the headlights wouldn't dim in unison with the turn signal. I also noticed that this is a happy accident, that the lights on the dash were a little bit brighter. The lights on the radio were a little bit brighter. So obviously the corrosion and crud and the loose connection here was causing a problem with the electrical system. And it was kind of, I don't want to get too geeked out as far as like amps and volts and all that other stuff, but it was akin to when you have a bad connection anywhere in your circuit. A weak connection will work like, imagine a garden hose that you have either doubled over or constricted in some way to reduce the flow of water through the hose. You do that and you just get a trickle out the other end. Well, it's kind of the same thing with a bad connection. It is the equivalent of constricting that hose so you're not getting the full free flow of current, full pressure of current going through your system. So everything's going fine, positive out to all the different electrical components in the vehicle, running the engine and everything, but because there's this constriction in the hose that is this connection, you're not getting the full pressure of electricity through the system, and that shows up as lights that are a little dimmer than they should be, lights that flicker when they shouldn't, those kind of things. So once I determined that the real problem was a combination of things, this being dirty, and the fact that I couldn't actually close this clamp to get a good solid contact between the terminal and the battery post, so then I just went ahead and got myself a replacement. So that's what's in place right now. And what it does is, this is a pretty long little sucker, because this will go, this is on the negative terminal of the battery, so it grounds to the inner fender. So it just drops down. What it's doing here, I have this camera mounted on a tripod and I'm not going to mess with it right now. So this drops down next to the fuse box and then bolts directly to the fender well, and that kind of works as your body is basically your negative return current to your battery. So this makes your negative connection to your body, and then a little bit further in, this will run further in towards the engine, and this end bolts onto the engine. The engine gets its own separate connection because the engine is isolated from the rest of the body because of the engine and transmission mounts. So it needs its own dedicated contact to complete its circuit. So with your ignition system, all of your positive connections are your distributor, your ignition coil, your spark plug wires, your spark plugs, and then your negative ground is the engine block connected to this end of this terminal, and then this end is what completes the circuit, bringing it back to your battery right here. So it's a quick, easy fix. The new cable costs like $15 or something like that. So I did have to search around a little bit because they weren't available here in Austin like some other parts are. It's just one of those things where these things really don't die unless they get. They just don't need regular replacement like shocks and light bulbs and things like that. So the availability is kind of spotty. So with that said, and since I have your attention, I figured I would go ahead and touch on how to do a little bit of troubleshooting with your battery so you can kind of validate your diagnosis. This is how I validated my diagnosis, with the problem being the connection right here. So the first thing you do is you do a static test of your battery. So everything on the truck is turned off, ignition's off, accessories are off, everything should be nice and quiet and resting. And so all we're going to do with this test is, there we go, I'm going to get the multimeter turned on. So with just a simple basic multimeter, this is a cheap multimeter from Harbor Freight. And so the first thing I'm going to do is just test the current that is present in the battery, static, with no alternator running or any of that sort. And so when I make these connections here, now, come on, low. Let's try it out here. Oh, got to pop this. All right, see? That's how you know it's live, and it's the first take. I'm going to move that out of the way. There we go. So 12.78. So this battery is doing really well, considering that it's already past its warranty. This is a 24-month battery, and I am slowly creeping up on 36 months. And I think it's November. This battery will hit 3 years old. Batteries usually have a little round, sorry about that. Folks, there's a batteries usually have a little round sticker on the side somewhere that has the month and year that it was manufactured. And so that's how you can baseline how old your battery is. So the sticker on the side of this battery says 11/14. So there you go, you can do the math. So from there, so we know that the battery is storing energy properly, it's storing the right amount. These systems are 12 volts. So the battery should be holding a little bit more of that. So a good battery is going to be 12.5 to 13, maybe a little bit above 13. When you start doing the static check and you get a test that's like 12.1, 11.9, somewhere in or lower, then you either have a bad battery or you have a drain. So how do I know how do I check if there's a drain? Well, it's simple. Right now it's about 3 o'clock in the afternoon when I'm shooting this video. So if I was concerned there might be a current drain, some minor short circuit or some accessory that's drawing current that shouldn't be, the easiest thing to do is benchmark where I am at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and then first thing the next morning, get up, do the same test, and see if these values have changed. And if the value has changed more than a tenth, so we were at 12.7 something, if I'm at 12.6 something, I know something is, I have a minor drain. And I would expect with, clock or radio, you're going to get a little bit of drain there. If you check it first thing in the morning and that sucker's dropped down to 12.2 or 12, then you know you've got something that really needs to be troubleshooted, and that can get fun. So once you've really isolated the fact that your battery's okay, then you want to there are a couple more tests you can do to check your alternator. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a timeout, I'm going to reset the shot, and come back and explain to you what I'm doing with that test to test the alternator. There are 2 stages to testing the alternator. You have to do it while the engine's running, which is why I'm going to take a timeout, because I've got to start it up, reset the shot, and then come back, and then I'll talk through that real quick. And we'll probably be done in a couple of minutes. So thanks.